Story time.
Tell me a story. Oh,
Okay, the pressure of outperforming yourself. Scene 1, take 1.
look at those tabs.
Look at these tabs.
This is from book 3.
Book 3, Beartown, Frederick Bachman. I'm not what is it? I'm not plagiarizing.
Paraphrasing.
What do people get canceled for? Copyright.
Copyright.
I'm citing him.
Frederick Bachman, you deserve credit.
Frederick Bachman is on my Mary list. The pressure of outperforming yourself. Trying to adjust the mic because she keeps tipping.
Tighten her.
A lot of
I don't think
pressure.
you tightened it at all. I don't think you even touched it.
It's like-
Here.
Okay, so a long time ago, I read a book trilogy, Beartown, which I've been talking to Steph about. She needs to read that. Everyone needs to read that who's listening. Anyway, changed my life, and there's a character in Beartown who goes to the NHL. Anyway, so I'm self-employed, and Steph is on her way to being fully self-employed, billionaire baddie. You know how Iron Man says that? It's like,
No.
who is Iron Man? Or who is Tony Stark? Billionaire, philanthropist, playboy,
Oh, yeah.
genius. Anyway, that's what Steph is. So,
Well,
I love books that relate to me and my situation. And before we started this podcast, I was thinking like, oh, what are we gonna talk about? And this quote kind of really came to me at the right time because I was, worried about my career because I was like, I am not doing enough when really I did a lot.
you did a lot.
And
You do a lot.
I do a lot. You do a lot too.
You do a
Anyway, so Amat, the character in this book, really made me feel things. And I was like, I saw this quote and I thought I would read it today because that's going to start off this whole conversation of the pressure of outperforming yourself.
Yeah.
So without no context, because I'm not spoiling this series, everyone needs to read it.
Yeah, please don't
I'm
spoil it
gonna
for me.
I'm not going to spoil it for you. Honestly, you're probably going to forget this when you read about it.
No, this will stick with me.
Refer back to podcast 1. Suddenly, everyone started talking about the NHL. Life as a pro, all the millions. Amat tried not to listen. Be grateful and humble, his mother said when he helped her clean the ice rink late in the evening. But when enough other people are sufficiently convinced that you can go all the way, in the end it's hard not to start believing in yourself. Then can turns into will, and then will becomes must. You must go all the way now. Hope becomes pressure, happiness becomes stress. The old men in the supermarket stopped praising him if he scored 2 goals because he should have scored 3. Damn. When the season began, they were happy if he could save Beartown hockey from relegation, but by the time they were top of the league at New Year's, suddenly that wasn't enough. They started talking about the chances of the club being promoted. In just a few months, everyone went from talking about what Amat had given the town to what he owed it. So he bowed his head and trained even harder. Grateful, grateful, grateful. Humble, humble, humble.
I love that quote.
What do you think, Steph?
There's a lot actually, because that's a long quote, and I feel like you can really break it down to so many different things. But I want to start off with the beginning of that, where he went from everyone was believing in him, so he felt like he could do it.
Yeah.
And it really touches on the fact that we as a society put so much pressure on external validation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great that he took that and he did something and made it successful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you allow people to validate you, they have so much more control over you. And you see that because then when he actually does make it to the NHL and he actually is doing things for the town in quotes, you see that it turns from, oh my gosh, he's scoring, he's doing great. We brought him here to exactly that. Like we made you who you are. We brought you here, and now you're not doing enough for us, so keep going. And it doesn't stop.
And I think what really struck me was it was just a boy with a dream.
Yeah.
All he wanted was to play hockey. And I think now bleeding into like our lives, right? If we're talking about like me in reference, all I wanted to do was write. The more people see you, the more pressure it is on. Really, you're creating that pressure for yourself. It seems like the outside world is kind of like, looking in and being like, you have to do this. You're owed, like, you owe us this.
Yeah.
You don't owe anyone shit. It's about what you owe yourself.
Yeah.
But I think whenever you get to this point of how much can one person handle? How much can I do? How far can I go? I think that's whenever you stop seeing life as life and you see everything as a checklist.
Yeah.
And what we wanted to talk about today kind of all boils down to who you are and the curiosity of how far you want to go.
Yeah.
But there's always a limit.
There's always a limit.
And you said you listened to this TED Talk, right? The Happiness Advantage?
Yeah, so there was The Happiness Advantage by Sean, I think his last name is Aiko or something. Really stuck with me. I watched it years ago. I think it was in high school when I watched it, actually. And he talks about positive psychology and the importance of it. But one of the things that he said that really stuck with me was, the harder I work, the more successful I become, and the more successful I become, the happier I will be. And I think we all tend to have that mentality of, the more success I have, the happier I'll be.
Right.
Success brings happiness.
Money.
Brings money.
Yeah.
And with money, I'll be financially free, and I'll
do
have
whatever I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he was changing it to say, flip the script. The happier you become, the more successful you will be, because when you rewire your brain to work smarter, work harder, more intelligently, then you end up getting further, because you're treating yourself better, you're avoiding burning out. He talks about positive psychology and how we need to rewire our brains and the little ways in which you can do that. You know, because at the end of the day, you can have all the money you want. You can be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But you might not have relationships in your life. You might be lonely, and you might still be miserable.
Yeah.
You hear those stories all the time of these people who have all this money, and, you know, they're depressed, and people are like, how are they upset? How do they not feel good when they have that much money?
You know, when people see people who have money, they think that they've made it in life, because in a lot of people's minds, which could be true, especially with the economy today, it's like the more money you have, the more successful you are, because money in turn creates success, right? Because the more money, more connections, the more possibility you can, say you wanted to start a podcast, more money means a better camera. Like, you're going to watch it if the camera quality is better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people with the most money are actually the saddest people, because
they're the loneliest.
They're the loneliest. And a person I know, she worked for someone in Hudson's Bay, one of the founders of Hudson's Bay. And she said that that person, honestly, could have bought an island in the middle of nowhere, invited half the population of New York City, and still would have felt like the loneliest person ever. And I want to refer back to one of my favorite quotes in The Great Gatsby, I think I told you, was Gatsby was speaking, and he said, "I love big parties, they're so intimate." And I thought that was such a good quote, because it's like, you could have so many people around you, but nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
They care about, and Gatsby, I mean, you know Gatsby, he's magnificent, he's outrageous, he has all these parties and stuff, but who is Gatsby at the end of the day? And that's a lonely thing, when nobody actually knows who you are
As a person.
Yeah.
And
I think the harder you fight to be that person brings up the question, like, do you lose yourself in the process?
Yeah.
Why are you fighting now? Who are you fighting for?
Exactly. And that kind of goes back to, like, the external validation, is when you put so much pressure on other people and what they think of you. But then at the end of the day, do they even know who you are?
Exactly.
Do they even know what your core values are and what you would do in a situation where money wasn't involved? And, it's difficult, because the pressure of outperforming yourself, when you are a hustler and when you are so almost desperate to become successful and to become your own boss, it's hard to sit there and give yourself breaks, and it's hard to and to stop and to say, okay, you know what, let me just feel good about what I've done. But going back to the checklist, you end up doing these things where everything you accomplish, you rush to feel the thrill of doing it again or doing something better. So how many times have in my work, I've done a deal and then immediately been like, okay, but I could do better. I could do something bigger. I could sell something bigger or help someone purchase something bigger. Same with you. You get 1 million views, and now it's like normal to you. You're like, okay.
And I think it's funny, because it's a personality thing. Like, Steph is very, like, I think that in turn comes to a personality trait, but it's like, you're very quick. Like, it's like, you are very much the type of person that just wants to get things done, because you want to move on to something, because you're like, I don't want to waste any time.
Yeah.
And
time is money.
Time is money, right? But this isn't like, we're not preaching like we're perfect, we know everything about this topic. That's why we want to talk about it, right? Because it's kind of like helps us to kind of identify what we lack. And also, I remember you were saying, like, you could build a bed. Like, your friend was like...
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Like, and Steph is, like, building this bed. Like, probably could have built 5 beds in the time she built, a bar cart
Yeah.
or something, right? But it's like, it's about the process. Like, it's exciting, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
moving into this place and like you're spending time with your friend. But I think that is something that's tough with people who are constantly chasing the next best version of themselves, is they
Yeah.
forget to stop and see that they are the version of themselves they wanted to be for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and there's a difference too between saying, "Oh yeah, I'm grateful and I'm happy," versus actually sitting there and feeling that emotion.
Exactly.
Actually sitting there and feeling gratitude for what you have and what you've accomplished. And it could be the simplest thing too, like getting up and saying, "Thank God I have my own bed."
Yeah.
Or, "Thank God I have a shower because I
Yeah.
can wake up feeling fresh every single day and start my day off right."
Yeah.
Thank God for coffee, the small things. And then also
the
your
gratitude of it.
exactly feeling good and finding that balance because again, there's a lot of pressure when you're trying to outperform yourself, and the pressure could be a good thing, and it is a good thing because you use it to better yourself,
But you're not a robot.
but you're not a robot.
And I think I've told you this too. I hate watching TV. Like,
Yes.
everyone will say, like, unless I'm at the movie theater, like, watching something, like, outrageous. That's why I'll go monthly, because I'm like, I
Yeah.
have to, like, get some sort of cinematic entertainment. Like, I can't just be, like, my eyes in 10 years are going to be done if I'm just looking at books.
Yeah.
So, but I hate it. And, like, my partner, too, he'll be like, I don't understand why you don't like watching movies. And I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
And you and I are the same person. Like, our YouTube videos, our podcasts, we're like, we have to be on the treadmill to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm rotting if I'm not doing something, like,
Productive.
and I'm not shitting on people who, like, sit in front of the TV and watch TV. Like, it's fine. Or sports or whatever. But for me, I'm like, okay, I'm antsy. I start getting antsy. I'm like, do I have ADHD? Like, why can't I sit still? And it's simply because I'm someone who's just constantly in high power mode. I'm
Yeah.
like, what can I do to make money? What can I do to expand my business? Like, I will be sitting there, a movie will be playing, my favorite movie of all time. I'm like, okay, draft number 37
Yeah.
on TikTok. Or
You can't stop.
no, you can't stop. But then it's like, life doesn't stop for you. You're missing all of these moments. And I think that I read this quote in, if anyone's read 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, I highly encourage it. It's by
It's a
Brianna
great-
Weiss.
Yeah.
Really, really good if you need like a pick-me-up. But we were talking about the happiness of excellence, which I think that's what we're all striving to achieve, right? Like, what are we chasing but excellence?
Yeah.
And success to us is excellent, And
Yeah.
like, whenever people look at us, we want them to think, I want to be like that person. You know what I mean? We want to walk around where people look at us and we're like confident, successful, sexy, funny, like all of these things. But what do we achieve but often forget in the process, Steph? Forming a sense of identity. And
Yeah.
that is the biggest thing. Whenever you're chasing this goal and this person, you're kind of weeding off all of the bad bits of
Yeah.
things you've picked up along the way, and you're creating new armor.
Yeah. When you're forming a sense of identity, like, you don't realize that all the little things start to add up and to change who you are.
Yeah.
And when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was ever like that, or I can't believe that was me. That almost looks like you look at old photos of yourself and you're like, that was me, because you remember that time that you were in, and you remember how you were. Maybe you were a little more shy, maybe you weren't as confident, maybe you were more of a people pleaser, and you look back and you're like, wow, I'm not like that anymore. I've changed. And you think, when did that change happen? How
Well,
did it happen?
Exactly, but it's also a good thing, because I wrote down, you're unique.
Yeah.
Your uniqueness is what sells you.
Yeah.
And I think that the more you cultivate that person along this process of growing and overachieving, it is a good thing, because you are turning into this person that's completely untouched by every other part
Yeah.
of people that have touched you. It's true. Like, your uniqueness is what sells you. Like,
Yeah.
whenever you have a favorite author or a favorite podcast or a favorite actor, for instance, it's because of their own unique voice. That took a lot of time to get there. And those people that you look up to chased this self, this self that was completely different from everything that's happened. And most of the time, if you're trying to be a better person, you're trying to be more successful, and you're chasing this person, you're cutting off all of this bad juju.
But I think that's what actually makes you interesting, and that's what makes you stick with other people.
Yeah.
Because if you keep meeting the same person over and over and over again, nobody's going to remember who you are if you're just like everybody else.
Fuck no.
But when you actually make an impression by being different. You make an
Exactly.
impression by being unique and being yourself and being
Yeah.
authentic.
Exactly.
Right?
And like, look at the influencers. Like, we have a couple favorite influencers that we like that are like fitness influencers. I'm not going to say them, but
I was about to say.
I'm not going to say our parasocial relationships. But like, there's thousands of fitness influencers in this space.
Yeah.
We scroll through a bunch, but then there's those ones that stick, and we're like, oh, I love you. I don't know why you like them.
But you can tell when you're watching TikToks who is just, doing the exact same thing every single day. And it doesn't matter if you do the exact same thing every single day, but you can tell who's authentic and doing it because that's actually what they do, or that's, what they want to be doing versus somebody who's role playing.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that goes directly in saying the point of hard work is to recognize the person it makes you, not what it gets you.
Yeah.
And and that was also a quote by Brianna Weist. I'm not plagiarizing. But I think too, whenever you're saying like, a lot of influencers do things because they see other influencers doing that thing, and they see their lifestyle, and they want, whether it be the hours, the money, the body, whatever it may be, they're not doing it for the right reasons.
No.
They're not and I think I saw a TikTok of an influencer that we both like, where she was saying like she was posting videos just because she liked posting videos. She had a full-time job. She still has a full-time job, and she's posting it because it's a creative outlet for her, because she is a creative person, but she doesn't know how to be creative. She's in like kind of a science-based field.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are complaining about not going viral because they're just copying other people. But it's like, if you don't actually enjoy the process of becoming who you are, you're copying someone else's dream.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of bites you in the ass anyways, because the reason why it blew up is, other people enjoyed it, sure, but it's one and done. When you try to copy other people, it doesn't do as well because everyone has the same idea as you. They're all like, oh, that did well, let me also do it. So then now you have the one person who did it, and that becomes successful, but now you have hundreds and thousands of people trying to copy it. So why is yours going to stick out? You also have to do something different with it, and you have to make it unique, and you also have to stay true to yourself when you're doing it.
And enjoy the process.
And enjoy the process.
I thought of another quote. I just keep quoting her because she's just so quotable.
There's a lot of quotes in that book.
What you thought you couldn't do now, you're addicted to seeing how much you can do. And I think that goes into saying fall in love with the process of it. Yeah. Because whenever you see, like, I don't know if you've ever like done something and you're like maybe you did it a little differently, but it worked. And you're like, wait, why did that work?
Yeah.
And then you try and find different ways of doing that thing because you're like, but I've never seen anyone do it. And it really opens up all of these neurological pathways for you of kind of just saying, okay, well, if I can do this thing differently, what else can I do differently? And that's what creates your own uniqueness. But it's not like, I think the pressure of outperforming yourself, truthfully, is like finding new ways to come up with different things and being so addicted to that.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, but I think at the end of the day, you have to realize, like, okay, where is this process taking me? Where is this journey actually taking me? Where's the end goal? You know what I'm saying? Because if there's no end goal, you're just going to keep, you're a genius, but for what? Like, you know what I mean?
But I think at the same time, going off that, it's like you do almost really have to fall in love with the journey, and you do need to know where you're going. You need to know that end goal, but you can't put too much pressure on that end goal in a way, because that's what leads you to the checklist again. Yeah. Where it's, once I get here, I'm good. Okay, I got there. Once I get here, I'm good. Once I get here, I'm good. And you have these, like, millionaires, billionaires who still have goals. Like, it never will end, right?
I want to talk to you about, because there's a guy, I'm not going to share this, but there's a person that is extremely rich that we've spoken about. I'll get to that in a second, but in case he listens, in case we're just so sick that he listens. But anyway, and he's so rich. But I think we were talking about how his life is essentially like a checklist, like make a coffee at 8:12 a.m., take the kids to school at 8:45. Imagine if, makes a protein smoothie, bananas, peanut butter, yogurt, water, whatever. Yeah. What if there's a shortage of bananas?
Bananas.
Bananas. What if there's a shortage what the hell? Shortage of bananas.
Yeah.
Is his life going to implode? Probably, because he lives by a checklist. Like, honestly, it's like, I think people who stick to this routine, this is why it's different. Like, this is why it's good to be a little bit different with your routines, because, but again, you're evolving, but again, it's like, if your routine gets thrown off kilter, you're going to freak out. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It's like, then you see someone throwing hands in the supermarket because there's no bananas. It's this guy.
It's this guy.
It makes millions of dollars, but it's because he lives by
buy
this
all the banana trees he wants, but yeah.
genuinely, but it's like it's like he doesn't know what to do anymore. It's because it's thrown off balance. If you live by a checklist, you can't control life.
Yeah.
Life is going to happen to you. Even if you're a multi-billionaire, something is going to happen to you where you have to adapt.
You have to adapt, and you have to understand that change is a good thing at the same time.
Exactly.
And it's not to say, like, we're not sitting here saying you shouldn't have a routine and you shouldn't, follow the same thing every single day. But at the same time, you need to be equipped, mentally prepared for something different to happen, for something to change. You have to plan on your plan not going according to plan, which I think the Psychology of Money
Plan on your
author
plan,
said that.
not going to plan. I like that.
Yeah, it was. I vividly remember chapter 13 because I quoted it.
You're smart.
I quoted it in a post I did a long time ago. But Morgan, I don't know what's that.
Housel?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways,
no, but I really do think like money isn't a passion. Money is not a passion.
Yeah.
No one in the history of time has said, has been asked, "What's your passion?" Money. Like, that's not a passion. That's what comes with your passion.
Yeah.
If you are lucky enough and work hard enough to make your passion profitable.
Yeah.
But this is my final quote from this goddamn book because
we love it. There'll be more to come in the future.
There will be more. But passion is the spark that lights the fire. Purpose is the kindling that keeps the flame burning.
Say it again, because that is
I'm going to say that again.
Say it one more time, because it's such a good quote.
Passion is the spark that lights the fire. Purpose is the kindling that keeps the flame burning.
Damn right.
Like,
because in that, we get so excited in today's society for things that bring us passion.
Yeah.
And, you see all these people, you get so passionate about something, but passion dies. And
yeah, even in relationships.
Passion dies. And what do you do with that? Do you just never find happiness? You keep going through different relationship after relationship?
You keep chasing passion.
You keep chasing passion, but that's not what you have to do. You have to chase the purpose. Of it. You have to
Yeah.
find, it's good to be, it's good to be passionate, of course, but that dies.
Yeah.
To keep that spark going, like your quote says,
Yeah.
you have to find that purpose.
Also, no one's purpose is also money. I need
No.
to say that. Like,
No.
I would, honestly, the most insufferable people would probably say my purpose is money or my passion is money. Like, would you be friends with
the
someone?
The loneliest people would say that.
Exactly, because that's the only thing that they hold their weight on
Yeah.
is just money. But that's not life, because at the end of the day, you're not buried. And let's talk about that eulogy. Let's talk about that.
Well, it goes back to resume virtues versus eulogy virtues, which again I think was Psychology of Money. Morgan said it.
Morgan.
It might have stemmed from someone else, but resume virtues versus eulogy virtues. Do you want to be known as somebody who has a really nice house and a car and this and that at when
That's
you've
not
died?
a personality trait.
It's not a personality trait. It's who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And nobody is going to be at your funeral saying, "Oh my gosh, but their car was so sexy.
Their carpet was so plush.
That front entrance was huge."
Oh my God, I know.
Nobody's purpose is money. And if it is, then you need to look yourself in the mirror a little bit longer.
I'm the problem.
And say, I'm the problem. Go to therapy, do some self-reflection.
Yeah.
Reflection. But anyways, we spend every single day hustling and working hard to get those resume virtues.
Yeah.
Not to say that we shouldn't, we should, but at the same time, you can't lose yourself when you're doing that. When you're working for your career and your schooling or whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are in life, if you're sitting there and screwing over every single person who comes your way and not helping a single soul, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I also think like your passion, making your passion, Brianna and Morgan are probably our hidden guests right now because we keep quoting them. But there was a quote that Morgan said. We love them. But there was a quote that Morgan said that you told me about where, because he liked to write. He put it in a book, right? And he said, yeah, it made me a lot of money. Financial asset, psychological liability.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm talking about. Money, I don't know how many people need to hear this. Money doesn't make you happy.
No.
It actually, unless your whole identity is honestly making money and that's how you measure success, money doesn't make you happy. No. Honestly, it taints a lot of things. And this is my own personal experience, but whenever I started making money off of my books, that I had complete burnout for a year.
Yeah.
Because that pressure of now what I loved to do is now my business. It's now keeping me alive. If I tank this, how am I going to survive? I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. And that's where that pressure comes in of me trying to beat every version of myself without actually looking in the mirror and saying, congrats, Mar, you actually did it, you know? And it's because of money.
Yeah.
Money, like, let's change the episode to money being the root cause of it all.
Yeah.
Of, you know, the demise of a lot of talent, honestly.
Yeah, and how many times did I remember you were saying to me, it's frustrating because you were never somebody to look at the numbers,
No.
but then obviously when the numbers skyrocketed,
Yeah.
it was something that was hard not to look at. And so when things,
yeah.
you know, it was always this concern of, if it does slow down, what do I, you know, if I'm not getting the views that I was getting this day, you know, the next day you'll probably hit it again, but
Yeah. I also think it changes how people interact with you.
absolutely.
I think, like, it's so hard, and which is why I appreciate Steph so much. Shout out to Steph. At Steph
Shout out to Mar.
Soros.
I'm
I
a
said
Foster
your last
legit.
name right. But, like, it's really hard whenever you're kind of on the same journey as someone when nobody else is. Because I have had so many friends, I don't even think it was intentional, but, you know, see where I'm at, the trajectory of my life. Because, of course, success and money comes with your drive. It is a product of how hard you work. And I think it was really saddening to me to see people take advantage of that. And I truly think that, you know, that's why you kind of chase these. I'm personally chasing this next version of myself so that I could be surrounded by people like me.
Yeah.
Because it's such a lonely thing to be surrounded by people that loved the party friend or loved, you know, this old version of yourself. And truly, it sucks. Like, you've seen me go through friends like, you know, hot rods.
Yeah, or the one who, you know, is going to pay for the dinner or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, right?
And it's always been, like, very real stories. Like, I've had people literally, like, step back and say, well, she's handling the check. And it's like, why? Because I was the only one out of everyone here that decided to work on themselves.
Yeah.
And then it makes you just run and run and run because you think, at least, honestly, if I'm getting psychological here, I'm like, what did I do in this moment? Did I become someone who, okay, I got the money. I got the followers. Am I still a pushover? Okay, let me chase the next version of myself that isn't a pushover. And then maybe I won't get used like this. But then, whenever you get to these next versions of yourself, who do you have left?
Yeah.
Because then you start looking at people as honestly inadequate. Like, where you're like, I don't match with anyone anymore. And the topic of this, too, it bleeds on to, like we've been talking about, there's so many branches to this topic.
There's so many things.
And so many, like, effects that you don't actually thinking about.
Well, actually...
That you're not actually thinking about, sorry.
No, yeah, and I think even what you're saying about chasing the next version of yourself, that's extremely important to constantly, you know, want to improve and grow and chase, the next best version of yourself. But then there's a fine line of realizing, am I just chasing the next version of myself or the better version of myself, or am I striving for perfection?
Yeah.
Because that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I actually have a really good quote from The Gifts of Imperfection by
Show the book.
Dr. Brené Brown.
Show the book.
We love her. I think it's got a different cover now.
This one's old, eh?
Yeah, I got that one in university. I did a report on it in university, actually. Anyways, in The Gifts of Imperfection, you know, she talks about a lot, but it literally says on the front page, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. And it talks about...
That's hard.
Yeah, and it talks about your imperfections and using them to your advantage. You know, not seeing them as a bad thing, but taking that thing that is normally looked at as negative and making it something positive. So, for example, if I were to give, you know, a real life example for myself, one of my imperfections, I would say...
You don't have any.
Stop. No, so one of my imperfections that I would say is that I care what other people see me as. I care about how I'm perceived from others. And, you know...
It's very common, actually.
Sorry?
It's a common thing.
It is common.
Yeah.
And you know, I wouldn't say I'm a people pleaser, but I do care how I'm perceived. And so, is that an imperfection? Yeah. But can I use it to my advantage? Yes. And have I? Yes.
Yes.
So, for example, working out. If I work out at home, there's no one really around.
Motivation.
There's no motivation. There's no one around to judge me if I end my set early, to, you know, judge me if I don't work out that day or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I started going to the gym. Because if I show up at the gym and I'm there for 5 minutes and I want to leave, even if
embarrassing.
It's too embarrassing. Even if nobody is looking at me, I think that they are.
The front desk is gonna clock you.
And we've made friends with the front desk girl, so she will know, And she said to me before too, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a few days,"
Oh God, I ripped my hair out.
And but I love her.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing because that actually makes me want to go.
Exactly.
That makes me want to say good morning to her. That makes me want to
Yeah.
show up and be like, look, I'm back here again. I'm hustling. Even though I'm sure after she says good morning to me, she doesn't think about me the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I think, oh my gosh, but what if she does?
Yeah.
I can't have her thinking that I'm slacking. I can't have her thinking that I actually don't care.
Yeah.
So I go back and I put myself in positions where I know I'm going to care about what people think about me in order for it to benefit me. And one of the quotes from The Gifts of Imperfection that I want to talk about is, understanding the difference between healthy striving and perfectionism is critical to laying down the shield and picking up your life. And if we were to break that down.
Let's break it down.
Healthy striving is, you're focused on self-improvement, but you're creating realistic goals for yourself. Perfectionism is driven by external validation.
Right.
So you're trying to be absolutely perfect so that it meets other people's standards. But at the end of the day, being a perfect human being doesn't exist.
No,
it's subjective.
That's not possible.
Right? It's what, because my perfect and your perfect look completely different.
Yeah.
So to be a perfect human being doesn't exist. It's too subjective. And so the quote, I love it because it's saying focus on healthy striving, not perfectionism, because to be perfect is setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And laying down that shield of perfectionism will actually help you live a more authentic and fulfilling life.
Authentic being the key thing, right?
Yeah.
Because imperfections make you unique. Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about it earlier about being unique and being different and standing out, and that's what will lead you to success.
Yeah. And I think too, that's why it's like going back to chasing who you are and stuff like that. It's good to find your own unique pathway to doing that, because are you running from the version you created, or are you like actually trying to make a better version of yourself? But you can't copy someone else's version of their perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
No.
And like your perfect, like you said, would look so different from mine. And like we have the same mindset, but we're such different people, and we're on the same like vibe all the time. Like we're like, we want to be better, we want to be bigger, let's see how far life can take us. But that looks different from you, and that looks really different from me. Doesn't mean we're misaligned in any way. We're actually compatible because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what, that actually reminds me of the stonemason story. Jonah. The stonemason story. And where did I read it? No, it's a common story, but Surrounded by Narcissists by Thomas Erickson.
Your favorite book.
Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson is the best psychology book.
You're gonna get a lot of flack for that.
I don't care. I'll say it
hates you.
I will say it. I'll fight anybody who disagrees. I will say it with my chest. But another book he wrote, Surrounded by Narcissists, he was explaining the story of the stonemason, and basically it's about, I might butcher it a little bit because I don't fully remember, but a guy's walking down the street. He passes a stonemason. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" The guy's like, "Oh, I'm cutting stones." He's like, "Okay, are you like having fun doing it?" And he's like, "No, I feel like it's mentally numbing. I'm not enjoying it. I'm miserable." All right, cool. The wanderer keeps going, and he passes another stonemason. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm cutting stones because these stones are going to be built for this beautiful cathedral." Right? And he's all excited talking about it. He's like, "Do you like what you're doing?" "Yeah, I love it. It's going to be this huge, gorgeous, beautiful cathedral, and everyone's going to go, and this and that, blah, blah, blah." And, the main purpose of the story is these two people are doing the exact same thing, but one of them feels like absolutely miserable.
The other one has a purpose.
And the other one has a purpose.
Yeah.
And because of that purpose, it makes what they're doing that much more exciting and that much more fulfilling.
Yeah. And honestly, that reminds me also of, again, Morgan. What is he doing here?
We love Morgan.
And my brother too. We kind of mentioned this about, do you read The Psychology of Money? In the beginning, he talks about the janitor, and then, I don't know, it was a tech bro or something. I could be botching this. Someone who came into a lot of wealth, He wasted that wealth throwing parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas the janitor was a janitor, obviously, making minimum wage. When he retired or when he passed away, he was a millionaire because he knew where to put his money.
Yeah.
Whereas, Mother Trucker over here,
Yeah.
Mr. Tech Bro, Brad, like, man,
Definitely Brad.
he was broke. He was broke. He had so much money, like millions, and the way he wasted that money, and it reminds me of that too. It's because if your purpose and your goal is to throw the most lavish parties or be recognized by the community as this suit and tie man who makes so much money,
Yeah.
okay, you're going to lose your suit and tie in 5 years.
Exactly.
This janitor, he had a family. He was spending time with his family, prioritizing, putting money aside. His end goal was to settle down, live a good, happy retirement with his family. That's what he did as a millionaire.
And you know what? It's because it's $1 million is life changing, but it's easy to blow.
It's so easy to blow, man.
It sounds stupid because it's like, how can you blow $1 million?
Especially in this economy.
In this economy.
Fruits cost $1 million. Grapes, $19. I went to Fortino's, which is like the Whole Foods here, I guess. We have a Whole Foods here. I don't know. Anyway.
They're rare, though.
Yeah, it's a rare one. Dude, this is such a side note. I saw a MasterCard. It was like, oh, you get 5% cash back on Whole Foods. And I'm like, there's two Whole Foods in Toronto. Like, what do you mean?
I literally can't think of, I can only picture
the Mississauga and the one in
Yorkville.
Yorkville.
Right?
Yeah, and then the one in Square One. Like across Square One.
Yeah, Square One.
Anyway, stupid MasterCard. Anyway, so I went to Fortino's and I checked out. Man, oh my God, are we gonna get sued? I don't want to get sued.
But we love Fortino's.
Yeah, I like Fortino's, but man, your grapes, dude, what are you doing? Are you harvesting them yourself? The lady puts the grapes on the scale. It's like 1996.
No.
I'm like,
Did you back out or did you? Yeah.
No, I didn't back out. I wish I did, but I have like that complex of like, no, it's fine, I'll buy it. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this story. Oh yeah, group's
purpose.
The $1 million and it doesn't go very far. No, it's true.
No,
You buy a bag of grapes every single day from Fortino's, man. You're gonna be broke.
But seriously, like $1 million, it's what you do with it, and that's what sets you apart. Is can you take that money and invest it and put it in the right spots and still be happy and become wealthy? Or are you going to blow it in 2 months?
How are you supposed to live in this economy? You have to make money. And I think that's why people, especially here, they're trying to chase it. Yeah, the main point is it's about who you are and what you do with your money and how you want to capitalize on that money and how you want to profit from that money. Because it's like, like multiplying. Like if you eat a cherry and you're not saving your cherry, in 1 week, you could have had a few extra cherries, but you keep eating the cherries as you go. That's kind of what we're talking about. It's like, who are you as a person? How are you going to capitalize on that? How are you going to maximize that? Okay, camera died. For the video watchers.
Technical difficulties.
I guess we got to wrap it up a little bit. That sucks. I'm sad.
That sucks. I could talk for hours.
Me too. Essentially, like, $1 million doesn't go a long way. And it's about how you use that money, who you become with that money, because money changes people. So I think it's okay to have pressure to outperform yourself as long as you have the end goal in mind is positive. The end goal in mind is success, not because of money.
Not because of money, and also treating yourself and your mind right along the way.
Exactly.
Taking care of your mind and really being
balanced.
Yeah, exactly.
And to leave that,
the pressure of outperforming yourself.
Happy first episode, everyone.
Happy first episode.
We'll see you guys next week.
Good morning.
Good morning.